Good morning and Merry Christmas.
Good morning.
And a Happy New Year. And I am going to make sure, if you'll receive the message I give you, that will last you forever. I just want to start the program with asking a question. You're all grown up. Would you like a father? How many people would like, in their stage, would love to have a father? Not you? Not you?
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder why that is. Because the father's missing. The father's been missing for thousands of years, not just hundreds. Eve is the woman. The man is the project of the woman. It's back to front, but it's the right way. Every child that comes into the world needs a father. Because the mother has never had a real father. All she's had was a mother. And the mother is the extension of her mother. And her mother is the extension of her mother, all the way back to Paradise Lost. And there's no love on this earth that could help a woman. There's no man on this earth that's born of woman that can give her what she needs. And that's the problem of the whole world. So the father you're looking for is God. He is the father of Jesus. And he said, "Why call me good? There is no one good except God." So what we need to experience here, or look to experience it, or hope to experience it, is just that. When my father died, he was a good father. He smoked cigarettes. I've never seen him smoke them, but he said he did. He was in the World War I, and I think he got gassed. Could see it in his eyes. It was affected. But he never spoke about it. And he came from Russia to Egypt and to England and was in the military, never spoke about it. But there's something about him that is unusual. He was there, he worked, he could speak 11 languages, he could build anything. And then there was the Depression, couldn't even get a job. And there's a scenario that he was able to make it sooner or later. Nobody wanted to help him, nobody in the family. But there was something about him that allowed me to play with all his mechanical things, electronics and everything lying around. He was helping in the war, and he had a uniform. But he was in the Signal Corporation, whatever it is. And I had all these pieces, and he let me play with them. And so I just want to mention something to you. I just realized it last night. This is just a side effect, then we'll go on to our subject, because what he had was a big transformer. And then a buzzer, put on the door. But it had two
Leads.
What was it?
Leads.
Two.
Solenoids.
Two.
Coils.
Yeah, it had two of them within it. And normally you have one for a doorbell, but this one had two. And I never realized something, because when I connected a battery to the transformer, heavy one. There was 2 of them in there. Normally, you only need 1, correct? And I think what happened, accidentally, I thought of it a couple of days ago. It was 2. So it's a make and break. You know what I mean? My make and break. And these 2, when I put them together, cut the connection, one of the connections, and put it in that, and it came out of the transformer with a lightning bolt that big. And I've never been able to do it since. I have a son-in-law, got a bit of a cold, a son-in-law, and he couldn't do that with the electricity from the house. It was this long. I think that 2 has a magic to it. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm looking for a transformer. If you know, you can find me a nice big transformer. And I don't know. I don't know if anybody can do that for me. And a buzzer with 2. I'd like to play with that again. But there's something unusual about that. It was that the spark was that big. I mean, no exaggeration.
So
anyway,
what you're saying is the voltage was much greater to throw
tremendous.
A spark like that.
Yes.
And there were 2 relatively small transformers that normally
yes,
don't
that's
do
correct.
that, but in series, it produced a much higher voltage.
Huge. So I woke up one morning and said, it can't be that way. Because my son, David, grandson, not grandson, it's son-in-law, he couldn't produce this much from the house.
And you were doing it from a battery.
Yes, 6 volt. Because that's what we had in those days. Oh, all right. So where was I now?
I wonder if there's deeper meaning to that.
Huh?
I wonder if there's meaning beyond the physics to
There
why
is
you're bringing that story up today.
I know. There is something like that. Because I understand what gravity is. I understand that gravity is not fundamental. They're just thinking about gravity as the fundamental, the mother of all the others. Gravity, they don't even know what it is. Actually, don't even know what gravity is. But they're beginning to think that there may be some other, what words did I use just now? Oh dear. Another element underneath.
Fundamental force.
Fundamental, yes. Underneath gravity, there's the fundamental. They're thinking there must be something. They're beginning to, because they don't even know what gravity is, whether it's a push or pull. I know all these things because I never went to school. Well, I went to school, didn't learn anything. I kept all knowledge out that was disturbing to me, unnecessary. All the things that they want me to teach me, I don't want to learn them. I want to discover things for myself, always. And that I can speak to you now is the extension of that. All these years, I remember being about 12, I'd play in my head Buddha, Jesus, God, Moses. I'd close my eyes and think of them each one at a time. And guess what? A little shock. When Jesus, I'm Jewish, you know. But I just ran through those names, and I got a little shock. That's it. I let it go, let it go. It goes further on, and I forget about it, but it seems like I'm a Jewish boy. But I'm looking at the Christians and looking at the Jewish people. I have to, excuse the expression, but the muttering in another language, part English and part Hebrew, I just chuckled. I never wanted to go back again. I could say something rude. I'm keeping it right to myself. I'm holding it back. I have to hold it back.
Don't do it.
I'm just kidding. But no, we need to come to some understanding. Yes, Patty, forgive me. I have a problem. Everybody knows I have lost the ability to speak. Only I can speak about God. If I could sit here and just talk to you about your problems, I'm all right. But I have a bad memory for other things that don't seem to be important anymore. I can actually read my own book. And not like it. It's too intellectual. Much too intellectual.
Wow.
It is. It's well written, but when I look at it, it needs to be much more simple. And I am going to do something with you. It's more simple. I have known Paddy. How many years? Is it 35 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
30.
And I fired you 3 times?
Right.
Well, because you tend to overdo yourself. You do it good, you do it good, you do it good better, and do it good better, good, and then you screw up because you're doing too much, and you want to get out, so you make a mistake purposely and unconsciously, and I fire you, and then you come back again because you're always being very gracious, working hard, and doing a good job. But that's 3 times I had to fire you. Because at a certain point, you made a mess, so you get out of there. Because you're doing more and more and more and more, and you can't do any more. And so you have to break away. See? But the thing is, you haven't changed. I have to tell you that you have taught me something. Because you've been such a sweet lady. I'm going to turn this into something else in a minute, but let me say it's not nice things first. Is that you have I know you've been hurt, terribly battered, correct? Mm-hmm. You want to say how it is so that everybody can hear or not? But it was really bad. It hit your ears and you lost your hearing. You're beaten up continuously, correct?
Yes.
See, so you don't need to go into that. So you made up your mind you want to be good, right?
Yeah.
But you see, you don't know what good is yet. And the problem you have is, it's hard to describe, but you should stay with me. Because I don't see you very often, and you've been sort of pushed to come a little bit more to see me. All your suffering, if you have, let me start again. If you would have stayed with me and been sincere, you would have looked different from today. You would have been a beautiful woman instead of the ugly person you are right now. You are basically ugly.
I know that.
It's not necessary, but I have to say it. I love you.
I know that too.
I do. And so I can say that without being not mean or anything like that. But what you've been doing is only seeing me occasionally, and every other person. You have lots of friends, and then you have a husband, and then you have a son. And you're too, if you're not busy being kind to me, you're being kind to your husband, you're being kind to your son, you're trying to fix them. But you can't fix any Ben any more than you can fix yourself. So I'm suggesting is to get away from your son. You can't, he's old enough to take care of himself. You've made a mess of that. And you made a mess of your husband again. Everything that you do, you keep doing it, but you've got too many friends. You understand too many friends?
I don't have a lot of friends.
Yes, you
There's
do.
only one person.
How many here have friendship with her?
Well, I don't see them
don't
so
see her,
often,
but
but
All right.
I understood
Well,
that.
yeah, but you do. I mean, where's Wendy? Can you explain what I'm trying to say, Wendy?
If I,
She will explain it to me better because I found out some things from her about you.
All I can say is I love Patty.
I know you do.
There are a lot of people that love Patty from a distance.
That's right.
But what you're saying is true about the helping, and it's not helping.
Well, when you were helping me, you were doing more and more and more until you couldn't do any more. It became a negative, and you made silly mistakes and you had to go. But I've always liked you. You're very likable, and you want to help everybody. You do want to help everybody. And you do have too many friends. You do have friends more than you realize. And they want to help you or you want to help them, but they don't know how to do that. So that you've stayed this way, God bless you, He's kept you alive for this moment.
okay,
Please put your husband in the hospital and let them take care.
Okay.
At least it better than it won't be a cure, but it'd be better than you.
right now he's in Three Rivers. He'll be there another couple of days, and then I'm going to put him back in the nursing home.
Right. And about your son.
Well, I don't know about Christopher yet, but I can't take care of him
No,
physically.
you don't want to take care of him. He needs to go out on his own
Yes,
and leave you to me. If you have a question, don't talk to other people about it.
I won't.
Call me. Talk to me.
All right.
I want you better because you're on the wrong track.
Well,
You
I know that what I'm going to be going through in the next few months, physically, I need everybody away from me.
Good.
Everybody away from me.
Not me.
No, not you.
Just always,
Yeah,
if a problem, chat.
yeah.
Only take a few minutes.
Okay.
Not such a big deal.
All right,
All right.
done.
I want you, see, I saw a picture of a very beautiful girl. That was you.
Yeah.
And look at you now. Too much food.
No, I have to take that back.
No,
Not
but
now.
no, you don't have to take it back.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could take that back.
Well, it took this, whatever I'm going to be going through, for me to turn around completely as to what comes in my mouth, sugar,
Yes.
right now, my sugars are absolutely normal because of what I'm doing.
Good.
And I don't, I can't really get into details right now. But getting rid of the sugar and I've dropped every day, I drop a pound, so it's starting to turn around now.
Yes. Be mostly to yourself now.
Yeah,
Don't look to help anybody.
no,
See?
I can't.
But you have been doing that
Yeah,
a lot.
lot.
And so the people you will help, you only make them worse because you haven't been able to help yourself. You don't know what help is. Not yet.
Yeah,
You will. Stay with me.
I know.
I care for you.
I know you do.
All right. Anybody has a question now? Anybody has something that they are not quite sure of? Yes.
There you go.
I am questioning the things that I take. Like, I'm told that I have osteoporosis and I have to take more calcium.
What are you coming to? What's the point? You gave me
The
a
point
problem.
is, I feel guilty, very guilty for
It was-
taking medicine.
Well,
And if I don't, I'm damned if I do and I'm
I'm taking medicine. I've had a very serious life.
I know.
I was swimming in front of my house because it's on the water,
Right.
and I swallowed a parasite, and that led to everything that went wrong with me. I'm still taking medicine. So you shouldn't feel guilty because there's a time when you may need medicine. If you break a bone, you need a doctor.
I did.
So medicine is not bad as long as you don't make it as a cure. Your problem is easily resolved if you
Right.
get rid of all your fears. That's all it is. You have an emotional sickness.
That's right, I do.
I had a thing inside me that was multiplying. And 4 years, I almost died. There's a long story about that.
Well, the thing with me,
Then I had to have an operation for a heart problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't eat anything except porridge. And then I got problems with that too, because I couldn't eat right. So it seems that I have had to go through medicine all the way through, having heart operations, which is very strange because I don't know if you know it, but I had a heart operation, and they took a piece out of my leg and put it in there, but it doesn't belong there. And so 3 years later, I had to go back, but then the doctor says, I've got good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? I says, give me the bad news. He says, your operation failed. No flinching. Okay. So what's the good news? He says, you've grown new capillaries. Is that the correct term? Artery. So now I've had that now for 17 years ago. Blood pressure is normal, but it's rare. I had a new lead on life. I had to go through all these things. At the same time, I'm discovering how things work. There are things you need for medicine, and then you can't live off medicine. Medicine has a value in the sense that it's immediate, because you don't understand what you need to understand, so it should never come back. But the thing is, if I may express this, if you are emotional and the sickness is rooted in emotion, which I talk about all the time, which is 95%, but we still don't know what we're talking about. We're just young people. And young people do stupid things and get sick. Emotions, and they drink drugs and things like that. They do stupid things. And they eat the wrong foods. The thing is, medicine is necessary to keep you alive, to find the purpose of life.
I hear you.
To the degree that
Yes.
slowly but surely you need less and less help. But if you take medicine and do not change, do not look for the answer for why you need that medicine, which is mostly the case, you will die. You will die having never lived, because you would have lived a life of drugs and not able to find the purpose for which you became sick and then you became well. I'm trying to say that I am almost 90 years old. With all the things that have happened to me, I should not be alive. But I'm learning. I'm growing. And when I'm growing, I can see all the things that other people are experiencing, but are not dealing with it right. You take your medicine until you don't need it. And when you don't need it anymore, you have two choices. Keep up the way you've been living wrong, or see that there's another way, so that you don't need medicines for that anymore. And there's other things that but if you had a teacher like myself, which I'm still learning, I'm still discovering all kinds of things. I can't share it with you all at once, but only when it offers an opportunity. There's still things I need to learn, but my whole life and your whole life is no longer yours, because you didn't create yourself. You have to consider that. You had two little creatures and it turned you into a human being. That's magic. Wouldn't you say that was magic?
Yes.
Two things you could, under a microscope, the male and the female. Can't see it except under a microscope or something similar. How does it get there? How does it produce fingers that move, thoughts, good thoughts, negative thoughts? The secret of everything is to be still. And I picked up the Christian Bible. I began to be fascinated by it, but not to read it from one place to another. I used to pick up the Bible and flick, 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 and bang. I see that. But the word by itself, anybody reading it intellectually is playing with the knowledge of good. Because the knowledge of good is intellectualism. What's another word for intellectual? Words.
Knowledgeable.
Well, as I said, I read my own words and they're too intellectual. Because I can see that I can say it in so many simpler ways. And so I think that the good Lord has brought me this far, and I'm losing the ability to remember things. But when I do my radio program, and when I see suffering in you and you are willing to speak to me about it, I'm able to bring it forth, and you can see that you get better. And what it is in me, what has finally transferred me and changed me, is the light. And here it is, it's not easy to say, but Adam had, I believe that Adam and Eve's story is absolutely correct. And in the Garden of Eden, I think the Garden of Eden is somewhere in this planet. It's not somewhere else. It's there, but you can't find it. And if you could find it, you couldn't get in, so to speak. He was, I'm an animal. I'm part animal and part human. That's what happened to Adam when he left the Garden of Eden, Paradise Lost. And subject to the woman. But all of that continues to every country on earth. And the woman always looks like, to a man, that because he came from her, he must go to her for fulfillment. But there is a kind of fulfillment, it produces another kid. But that's not the kind of fulfillment we're talking about. That's you being full of it. But, see, so, any questions at all? Yes.
Well, I have a short comment because you were talking to Patty, and it made me realize in my life there was years where I was hiding from the truth and the evil, thing in me.
Why would you want to hide from the truth?
It's funny because when I started the meditation when I was really young, and it really opened my eyes, but it took years for me to really want to.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too.
So I went through a period of like a midlife crisis where my conscience hounded me, and I knew I had to do certain things. I had to face certain fears.
You didn't have to.
I didn't have to, but it was either that. I could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I felt like, but I realized if I didn't face and do the uncomfortable things in my life, the anger.
But you thought that your conscience was the adversary. That's what you're saying, aren't you?
Yeah, I suppose. Although my eyes were really awake, and the door was already opened, so I knew that the hounding was God, and it was not the words in my head.
It's anxiety.
Mm-hmm, right. Yeah, anxiety.
Emptiness.
Yeah.
An emptiness with pain to it, but you can't explain.
Right. And I knew that if I didn't face and change and face my fears and do the right things, that the anger wasn't going to go away. It was not going to go away. Yeah, it just was there, and I could subvert it. I could repress it because I'm that type of person. I'll turn it inwards.
It's the life force exchanged. In other words, Adam had a different kind of energy. It's called the light.
Yeah.
It is like a light, but when you look at your eyelids, you can see little pixels moving across the screen in the mind. And if you go into a dark room, you can still see. Mm-hmm. How is it you can see when there's no light. If you want to take it one step further, have you ever had a nightmare?
Yeah.
And in that nightmare, wasn't there light? Wasn't it just like watching a movie
Yeah.
and being in the movie? And you can see this, and you can see the dragon running after you, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's causing you to see it if there's no light on it?
Right, it was the conscience. And in my life there's a momentum of evil. It's like I believe that Jesus and God, they already won the war. They know the outcome, but there's battles going on for our souls. And in my soul there was a momentum of evil. It's like it doesn't want to let you go, but the power is in the non-judgment, and I finally, emerged out of that, stopping being judgmental and then speaking up on little things and doing it,
Yes.
I've seen that with people, frankly, with people that I've met around here, that they tend to get to a certain place in their life and they're just static. They don't, I see in my life.
They fall away.
Yeah, or they get into a comfort place. I don't know what other word you can say.
It's
that's
called death.
Yeah, but the Christian life, I mean, it says we're supposed to be salt of the earth. It's like this. It's not flat. It's not.
It's just verses and chapters. Verses and chapters is knowledge. Is
Yeah.
knowledge. You don't want the knowledge of good and evil.
I understand that.
And so, when you read the scripture, and you memorize it, and then act it, it's not the same.
No.
You needed to understand each word.
Well, I've seen in my life when I'm just living my life in the moment, it's just a different way to live, and I see that I wish the church. I mean, the church has become like the Jewish temple.
Yeah.
It's like the same Christian, the Jewish. It's the intellectual. It's become like the Jew.
Knowledge of good.
Yeah.
Knowledge of it. In other words, you memorize it, and then you act it out.
Yeah.
But the preacher owns you. He becomes your teacher, and he doesn't understand it.
No.
He is full of himself, and having all that knowledge, he can read the whole Bible, and without flinching. But the point is, if you give yourself to a teacher, but remember, your teacher loves you. That preacher doesn't. He's in the business of helping others help themselves. But that's not possible, because he shouldn't be doing that.
No. That's the beauty of the foundation.
I don't teach.
Right.
I criticize. I give you a shock. I show you, see? But see, most people can't speak up to anybody because you offend them. I'm willing to offend them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to be offended. But there's two kinds of offending: the rude
Right.
and the ignorant. An attitude, a negative attitude towards a person. But that doesn't cure anybody.
No, and you said things to me in my life when I was younger that were really like, wow, that was harsh in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yes.
But the energy was not negative, and I knew, not to judge you for that.
When I
because it was.
spoke to her, I said it correctly. She's ugly. And she needs to know she's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And she needs to know she could be beautiful. I've seen a picture of her, and she's a beautiful woman, right inside. And all it takes maybe a year or so, and you'll be beautiful again. I want to see that happening. But you had to take a little pinch a little disturbance when I said that, just for a moment. But I'm not. But I'm not. I'm well known to say you're fat.
Yeah, I know you. I know that you don't say things like that with trying to hurt me. I know you say them to me to love me
Yes.
in that way.
Big difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the light.
You know, it's like if you say something and I walk away from you, whether I'm going home or whatever, I know I have been loved by you.
Yes.
Most people don't.
But it isn't cruel, you see.
No.
It's a matter of truth.
Yeah.
You're fat,
Yeah.
and you're ugly, and you could be beautiful. And I want to see you beautiful. Okay?
I don't
do.
think I'll ever look like that picture again, but you know.
You'll
'cause-
be close to it. You'll be close to it. How you should look at that age. But the way you are living right now is going to death.
I know.
You understand that?
Yeah.
Because if you understand words, if you're willing to accept my presence, because Jesus had a presence, and he says, why call me good? Only God is good. So he wasn't necessarily good, but he's only good because God loves him. And he's the extension of God. And he will do as he's told. He will always have a father, and you will always have a father.
Yep.
And we'll always have the same father, where each one of us has different ways of doing things, because you can't all make bricks. You wouldn't have anything to eat. You had different skills. Okay?
You
Purposes.
said to me recently that, and it just, oh my gosh, I got it. You said to me, my mother and father, you know, they were really cruel.
Yes.
But you said to me,
Who? Who said to you?
you
Oh, me.
said to me,
Yeah.
they were used. Both of them were used to get me.
They couldn't help it.
They could not help it. And I thought, oh my gosh.
Yes.
It was like, it was all gone, you know.
That's the key. Because they became, you, when you reacted to them, was disconnected from
Yep.
what you could be when you
Yep.
came into the world. And so when you come into the world, I keep saying over and over again, when you come into the world comes into you. And your mother came into the same situation when she was a little girl. And so it goes on forever and ever, and she's going to do the best she can, just like you do.
Yeah.
You do the best you can, but it's too much of your energy, emotional energy, looking for approval.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't want to be approval like that, because it's only encourages you to be that way and never find the truth about yourself.
After you said that to me, it was like, oh my gosh, it's gone. You know, my anger at my mother and my father, I just didn't have it. I hear people talk here about their parents, and I think all it is letting go of that, but it has to happen.
Has to happen to you.
Yeah, well, it has.
You screw up your life.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're the extension of that.
Yes.
And you can't see it. It's like a hypnotic state. It is
Yep.
typically a hypnotic state.
Yep.
So we're born, but in that birth, there's intuition. I keep saying it. Intuition, not out-tuition. In other words, you don't, how can I say, you've got to leave your child away from the schools
Right.
and the rabbis and the preachers. You've got to keep them away. But the only way you can do it is if you've kept away yourself. You've got it.
Yeah.
And the children will see that you have it.
Yeah.
And when they see you have it, they have respect for you. When they have respect for you, they're the extension of you, of the God in you. That's
I have told you everything, every story I've ever had. You're the only person that knows these things. But I have a brother who was a year and a half younger than I, and my parents adored him. And I was the one that got thrown up against the wall and hit and all this stuff, but never him. I picked him up out of the crib, and I was little, and I put him in the shower and fed him pills to kill him.
You did what?
Huh?
I didn't hear it.
I picked him up out of his crib, and I put him in a shower
Oh.
and fed him these pills to kill him. I thought if I got rid of him,
It's the extension of the cruelty of your
Yeah.
parent.
if I got rid of him, things would be better for me.
Isn't that strange?
I told my brother that too, and my brother doesn't even talk
How
to
many
me.
understand this? You do, don't you? Because you've had that little piece of it, just, even if it's small.
I was a year and a. I
We
was-
do unto others what was done to us.
My brother was 9 months old, and I was 18 months more. So I was just 2. But I
It's
had
a
to,
matter of projection, see?
Yeah.
See, you have become the him.
so he ended up staying awake for 2 days, 2 nights, because he was so, they were diet pills. So he stayed awake for a couple of days, talking to my mother, and I remember it. I remember him.
Yeah, I never heard that before. I'm
No,
glad
that
you-
was the only story I haven't told you,
Yeah, it's good.
that I tried to kill him.
It's understandable. It's
Yeah.
at no harm. No,
Yeah.
you.
Well, he really wasn't talking at that age.
Yeah, he's
He wasn't
making
noises
a
or anything,
point.
but I doubt very much he was talking at that age.
How old was the child?
He was 9 months old.
Oh, he can't
He
speak
could
though.
talk.
He
was-
could?
He was, oh, yeah.
Oh, that's different.
9 months old, he could talk.
I could too.
Uh,
I was aware.
Roy, I have a question for you. Do you remember when you were talking about going into the water and that parasite came into you when you were in Ventura? Remember that?
The echo in the room is making it difficult for me to hear what you say.
How could I help you here?
Just speak more slowly.
When you took that parasite into your
Oh, yes.
innards,
Yes.
didn't you have intuition before you went into the water? Because I've had it happen to me when I was going to do something. I get a little shock.
I was ignorant of these things.
Oh, okay.
I had a
Oh.
nice house and a boat, and I would swim a lot. But then there was what do you call it?
Sewage, yeah,
Sewage.
raw sewage. yeah.
Right, you could smell it on the coast, and they had a spill, and I was swimming, but I must have swallowed something. But that lasted 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep properly. Doctors couldn't figure it out. And one day, a doctor friend, and he became a friend of mine. He comes in for dinner, and he put me on all his medical friends. They couldn't do it. So one day he comes with a pile of big books, all medical books. On top of it was a Merck manual. I remember the word, Merck manual. It's just a little pamphlet, yeah, with information in it. Very small. It's about 20, 30 pages. I opened it up and it says parasite or something like that. I went to the doctor, I can even remember metronidazole. I said, give me metronidazole. He says, you know what it's for? I said, yes. Within 3 days, after 3 or 4 years, I can't remember exactly, it went away right away. It left me with all kinds of misery, heart problems, everything. But I had to go through all these things happening to me. In other words, all the things that, for example, when I had the operation for my heart, and 3 years later, I thought I had another heart attack, and I just mentioned it. I've lost the point I want to make, but see if I can recover it. Yes. The doctor says, I've got good news and bad news. I just mentioned that. And he said, so I said, give me the bad news first. He says, your bypass failed. And there was no reaction. No reaction. None. Then he says, well, what's the other? He says, you have a brand new artery, correct? Brand new. I still have it. My blood pressure is 106, 107, 108, over 60, 61, 62. And my pulse is about 50, 60, 70, variation. It's still that way now. 17 years ago. But what it was, come to think of it, I didn't flinch. I didn't get upset. I didn't go whoopee. Thank you, doctor. That was it. And when I look back on my life, all the horrible things that happened to me, I have a big pile. I don't want to bother you with this. I mean, tried to be murdered just recently. I won't go into the detail of it. But the person who did it, I'm kind. I'm not resentful. That person senses it, but I don't have any judgment. I have no feeling or motion. I don't feel good. I don't feel bad. I don't resent her. I don't like her. I don't hate her. See? I still do business. I'm just a little bit more careful. It's a nurse. See? Just be more careful. No judgment. In other words, I don't have what you have, or most of you have. You have hate or happiness. That which is delightful for you. It sort of lifts you up. Uh-oh. You can keep that for a minute. Yeah. Thank you. It fell out of my pocket. Oops. But you understand, what I'm trying to say is all the problems you have and all the good times, there are good times for me, wonderful times, but those wonderful times have come from not having the two extremes. Who understand that? I don't get angry. I don't get, oh, how wonderful it is. I feel so good. See? I'm always in the center. And as long as you stay there, you have eternal life. Because the only way that can happen is fulfillment. It is somehow you have discovered, be still and know, I am God. Your wife isn't God. Your preacher isn't. Nobody is over me and nobody's underneath me. The only thing that is over me is in me, talking to you about it. Now, what I'm trying to get you to see is that I learned what be still and know was. Over and over again, pick up the Bible. Be still and know I am God. But the trouble is we have all kinds of gods in culture. what we need is, there's two ways of looking at it, as the fly said as he walked on his mirror. Excuse the expression. There's two ways of looking at things with emotion. As long as you have emotion, you will be stuck between the knowledge of good and the knowledge of bad. The knowledge of good is not good. The knowledge of evil is also, because you've only got those two things. The knowledge of good is pretense, study, learning, but never discovering. So let's go to the Bible again. Don't learn it. Read it. But read it the way I suggest you do. Flick, 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 flick. And read a little bit. That's it. Close the book. And just watch it unfold like a flower. And that's the beginning. I don't know how to say it any clearer than that. The Bible is a good book. It has value, but not if you memorize. So I have seen that from my sicknesses, I'm beginning to lose verses in chapters and losing the meaning of words. I can't remember the word refrigerator sometimes. See, and I've been sick so much, and it had an effect on me. But the effect is, I think, is very valuable, because it focuses me when I'm speaking to you. I can see things so much clearly when I have less knowledge. When I pick up my own book, which I used to like to read it every now and then, and take a piece out and put it on Facebook. But slowly but surely, I saw that you could say the same thing with great simplicity. You don't need all those words. So I'm reading my own books now. When I pick it up, I don't read them all the time. Just pick it up and see what I'm saying to another page. All these intellectual words, they're describing the situation. But if I speak to you about your problem, I only need basic English, maybe 800 words. It's all in the 800 words, basically. So slowly but surely, as I'm getting older and becoming forgetful, which I am, and forget what a refrigerator is. So, oh, no, what is this? I have to stutter with it and fall over it. What's a refrigerator? But I'm still alive in that. I'm alive a different way. I have a different language. It's only 800 words. And with those few words, beauty is there. Simplicity, not tremendous amounts. The Bible is thick as it can be, and more. If you want more, you can get more. You can never stop studying all of it. It's now. What you're looking for is stillness. And I do want to say something about that stillness, just a little bit. What caught my eye over and over again is, be still and know I am God. Now that is a challenge. And then one day I realized what it was. There's no such thing as anything still in the whole universe. Einstein, I understood it. Einstein said, everything in the universe is a momentum. There's no rest frame in the whole universe. That's huge. Everything's moving. Everything. So you can't be still. Something is telling you to be still. But that's something that's telling you to be still is not from the world. It's from within. It's called intuition. I like that word, intuition. So I began to trust intuition. And the intuition with respect about which I'm talking is, it is like a light. And what I discovered was that if you have an awareness is not like an animal. It's coming from a realm. A realm, for example, as a physicist, you look at the world and you understand gravity, or you think you do. But before gravity, and I have written about it and try to explain it to some doctors, friends of mine in physics, where they don't get it. And they can't get the fact in spiritual terms that the realm in which you must enter, it's a realm. I have in me an awareness of everything that's wrong and everything that's right. And it's coming from a place beyond. Let me just change it just a little bit to see if I can clarify it. In the beginning, there's a void. It means nothing. Infinite nothing. If it wasn't for the infinite nothing, you couldn't have anything. Because if you have a balloon, you blow it up. If the balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger, there's energy causing that. And the universe is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but where did the singularity come from? Because in the beginning there was a void, and every physicist knows there's a void. And what the Bible says, let there be light. Darkness is on the face of the deep. That's nothing. Infinite nothing. But in the infinite nothing, how did the infinite nothing have something infinitely hot? Where did it come from? Our mind can't grasp, it can barely grasp the fact that in the beginning there was a void. But then all of a sudden we have what the scientists call a singularity, which is the same thing as God, and God said, let there be light. They're both the same, different names. Same thing. Now we can't grasp what that came from, because what we got in the beginning is a void. Where did that come from? How can your mind go beyond that? Because you can barely recognize or understand what a void is. Absolutely nothing forever. Very necessary. Because if you didn't have that, you couldn't have a universe.
That's right.
See? Right. And so, now here it is when we turn it into spiritual. You think in terms, what is beyond the void? It allows a huge, fiery mass that keeps the universe going forever and ever. There's got to be some place beyond that, but you can't. You can barely understand the emptiness, the void. You can hardly understand that. But where did that come from? Where did that hit? Where that singularity? That's the name of it in physics. But they will not look at it from a spiritual point of view. They just want to do their work and do their math. And it's all very good, don't get me wrong. But that has nothing to do, it's only has to do with being clever and building things, which is necessary. But you need to understand about life. The purpose of life is to live forever. And so, in my heart, I have awareness. I have what is missing. What you can't possibly see is in you. It's called awareness. A dog is aware, but not like this. I'm aware that I exist. I'm aware I exist for a purpose. And the purpose is to live forever. But the only way you can live forever is to understand the purpose of life and finding your Father. I opened the program today. I said, how many of you would love to have a father? As old as you are, wouldn't you love to have a father forever? That is what it is. And so he's inside you, somewhere in there. But the only way I can explain it is I'm aware of all the things that are not good and all the things that should be good. So I have sort of given myself to an energy field that moves me in a different way than emotion does. Adam had that when he was cast out of the garden. He became an animal. And what made him an animal and different from what he was, because he could have lived forever. God says, if you eat of that, you will die. But you can eat all the tree. If you look, I can give you the tree of life, but don't touch that. Don't. It's really like a father saying, don't mess with my this or that, and you do it anyway. You see money on your father's table, sitting not his table, but on the little piece of
Nightstand.
huh?
Nightstand. Nightstand.
Nightstand!
I can't.
I stole it, so I know it.
I can't hear it.
The nightstand!
Oh, the nightstand, yes.
He did.
But it shouted so loud.
I was only about 8.
He stole it. He's guilty,
He's heard it before.
but he's guilty.
He's reminded me before. No, the point is it's temptation.
Yes.
And that temptation separates us immediately. But the first thing you do is make an excuse. And your whole life is full of excuses. And if you put it all together, you're lost. Because the energy that you need is not from the world. It's from who made the world. And that's what we're understanding here. We come into the world and the culture of the world gets inside us. And it goes from one person to another. Every woman is subject. Every woman is Eve. Every woman is Eve. And she doesn't understand that. And man born of woman.
And every man is Adam.
That's correct. That's right.
You gotta make sure you differentiate there, because the man's failing is the woman.
Is the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, she's hungry for that. And she doesn't know what she's hungry for. And so, but let me just get back now so we can finish off here. If you understand the words be still and know, where the stillness comes from is open to you, not for the dog, the cat. the lion, the polar bear. It's open, it's in you. It enables you to understand me. Because if I say something that you have not seen and you're willing to see it, it's yours.
And often the communication is nonverbal.
It's not verbal. Correct.
You
Just the
say
presence.
something, and all of a sudden, the energy that's in that does something in me, and something comes up is a realization. I know it's a realization, but I don't know what it is.
Correct. But you've been through most of that. It's taken you a long time, hasn't it? I've known you more than 50 years, haven't I?
I've known you more than 50 years. You've known me for about 30. Because I was just a face in the crowd.
Yes.
When I was 18 and came to your foundation
Yes.
in L.A.
And it took a while. And you just recently seen a few more things. And you almost got very sick because of it. But you understood it.
What happened was, I don't know how to say that. I was taken, for most people, I think death is they get to become unconscious. They've always been unconscious all their life, and now they get to go to sleep unconscious.
That's correct.
For me, I was going through a death-like experience, but it was taking me away from consciousness, and that was for hell for me. I wanted to be back conscious, and I was struggling as I was taken down this place to come back to be conscious. That's all I wanted was conscious. Awareness.
It's awareness.
Not my awareness, awareness.
Yes.
And I went through that.
As a gift.
Oh,
A-
yes,
a
and I went
gift.
through that over several days, a real dramatic experience, and then several less dramatic, where I was being pulled out of reality, and I hungered for the reality of being aware. And then out of that, I think, had the physical symptoms. So they ended up putting a pacemaker in me, and then they had to redo it because they did it wrong the first time. And all the experiences with the doctors and hospitals were wonderful for me, because I got to just watch and see and go through it, and sometimes say something, sometimes say nothing. Not millions, but many, many odd people going in and out of my room in my life. And then, so they put the pacemaker in. Well, the pacemaker, it records what your heart's doing all the time. It feeds it back to their office, and their computers are recording it also. I had a checkup the other week. So they looked at the pacemaker, and they said it never kicked in. We
never
put it
worked?
in, it never worked.
In 3 months.
It wasn't working.
It was working, it was recording everything, but nothing, there was no episodes, there was nothing going on with my
His
heart.
heart was normal.
And during the last month, I have been
Did you
doing
take it out?
intensively hard work. I wonder if this is too hard for my heart, lifting and doing heavy manual work. And they said, no, your heart looks like it's working normally. There's nothing wrong with it. But getting to the point where I had all this happen was like dying several times, but dying only wanting to be aware, not wishing, oh, I wish I had an end to this, or whatever people think. That wasn't there with me. And I had a breakthrough. This is a funny story, because you told your story about amplifiers. I'll tell you a funny story.
All right.
I had a breakthrough yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm digging a hole under my sidewalk,
Yeah.
because all this heavy work I've been doing up the hill has created great drainage for my yard, but it all hits the sidewalk and floods over the sidewalk. So I realized, well, I'm going to have to put a drain under the sidewalk. So every day I work for 2 or 3 hours doing very hard manual labor, trying to dig this hole under the sidewalk in what's called decomposed granite. So it's like you work for 5 minutes and you get a little tiny shovel full of dirt, and then you work more and you're using pry bars and shovels. And day before yesterday, an old grizzled guy came up to me, because they can see me from the street. I'm on the street. And he came up, and he looked like he's a guy who'd been digging holes all his life. He was all beat up and old, and he says, you're really working hard there. This is the way you need to do it. And he told me how I need to dig it. And I said, but I'm doing exactly what you said. I have this tool and that tool, and I do just like you said. He said, okay, you'll make it. And so I'm digging yesterday, had my last foot to go, and it's because of complications, I had to do something very difficult, which normally you don't do under the sidewalk. And I was pounding away and digging and feeling this effort and wondering where the energy's coming from, that I'm able to keep going, keep applying this simple little method pounding and pulling and digging. All of a sudden, I broke through the other end. And now it's time to put the pipe in. But I was thinking, well, I just broke through.
Oh,
Maybe it's not
yeah.
going to be big enough. I go and find this big 3-inch pipe, stick it down there, fits like a glove. And there was this simple little happiness that I broke through that little hole after working on it for over a week, hours at a time, exhausting labor. But it was simple because all I did is apply these simple principles of how do you go a little farther? How do you get down a little more? And I had to change it as it went because it was farther away and farther away. And I would change it, make modifications, come up with things that the experts said, oh, you're doing the right
But
thing.
what's
Just
the
keep going."
point?
My point is, there was a joy at the end of it. All that hard work, all that dedication, all that effort. And finally I broke through and it was just a simple joy. And I said, oh, I'm through.
Yeah,
That's my little story.
it's nice.
I have a story. I have a story.
Yeah.
to talk on the microphone?
So you just mentioned something I did 50 years ago.
What?
Taking $1 off your nightstand. And I remember 50 years later, that voice,
What?
that ageless voice. It didn't sound like an old person. It didn't sound like a young person. It was the voice of evil, the serpent's voice that said, go ahead,
What?
take it. He'll never know. The voice of the devil telling the little
I have
innocent
similar
boy
things like that,
to
yeah.
take the dollar, right? And I remember it as clear as a bell. I was sitting there, and that voice, that little voice in the head said, it said something like, I actually heard it echo. I heard an echo from 50 years ago. Take it, he'll never know. And I remember thinking to myself when I was just a little kid, because you had, I don't know, you must have looked at your change and remembered that you had $13 change from a $20 bill, that you had bought something and you figured out that there was $1 or $2 missing, whatever. And I remember thinking, when you asked me, did you take my money? And I said, I don't know whether I admitted to it or not. I think I just said, yes, I did. And you spanked me a few times. But I remember that voice like an echo 50 years later. It's the same voice that haunts me and every human being in this whole world. It's the voice from hell that is inside of all of us. And you either listen to it or you tell it to go back to hell where it came from. And so as an adult now, when I hear the little voice, which comes all the time, it's the same exact voice.
Yeah.
Do this, do that, whatever you shouldn't do, that voice is telling you to do. I now just say, shut
How many
up.
people understand what this? See?
Yeah, you just have to tell it to shut up. Because it's the liar. My dad has always said the liar lies. The liar is inside of you, and the liar wants you to ride with him.
One of my stories is somebody, I was going to work.
And
as a
that was
kid.
50 years ago, so I don't want to have to be told that story anymore. Go ahead.
Everybody has that. I mean, I'm going to work on my bicycle, and I locked the door, went downstairs, got the bicycle. Something says you didn't lock the door. I went up there and moved it. No, it was locked. I went down.
Is it the same voice as doubt? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it isn't so. Halfway to 10 miles, I had to go on a bicycle. And something says, but you really didn't. You didn't lock the door. I said, I locked the door. Screw you. And went on. And that's about it. There was only one time when I experienced horror. Near Disneyland, coming from Houston. We drove all the way, and we went right near where Disney's magical things, you can see it all flowing up, even though you're outside there, you can see things going on. It's very, and so I was sleeping on the floor because the trailer wasn't very big. I had lots of books in there. All of a sudden, I was laying on the ground on the floor of the trailer, and all of a sudden, I felt a terrible blackness coming over me. I was laying next to my wife on the floor there, because there's no room. But just before we go to sleep. But immediately, everything went black. It was so black, I have never seen black like that before. I know what black is, but it was black. And on the bottom of that black, there was something looking for me. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there. My hands turned into claws, and my ears went up, my mouth distorted, and then all of a sudden, oh God! That's what I said. On, back normal. And there's experiences where I can remember in the war, I'm standing by the window, and I was asking, what's the meaning of life? I kept on asking my father that. He says, I can't tell you, you have to find it for yourself. And so it came that way. I kept on thinking, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? All of a sudden, standing by that window, I never forgot it, with the air raid siren right outside the door. And it says, if you think like that, you're going to die. I said, go away from me, whoever you are. Gone. That's all you need. Little things like that. Yes?
You have to put some space between you and it, though, to tell it where to go?
No, I just screw you. And it understood it.
Do you know what I mean?
What most people, when they hear that story, they think screw you is like you're getting mad at evil. They don't I know,
emotion,
but
yeah.
I see that. But
Yeah.
most people interpret it another way.
Yeah, I know.
And they say, well, I don't want to be mad at evil,
No.
but it's a twist because I hate to say this, but Roy's different, guys. He's a little different than we are. He didn't fall as deeply as we fell.
I didn't.
And so
I was going up
all the time he's realizing this stuff, you have to be at a point in your life where you see the voice in your head, what you think is yourself thinking,
Yeah.
and you realize that's not me.
That's right.
And when you realize that, and may happen just like a flash, or it may happen over a little period of time. You
Everybody
realize,
has it.
That's not me. How can you realize that unless you are from somewhere different?
Yes.
And we think our mind thinking is us thinking.
Perfect.
It's not. It's your
right.
mind thinking.
So I think it is fun when I say, screw you, and let it go.
Everybody identifies with that, but then they all go about following their mind again.
No.
But you saw it right away.
Right away.
See? It took me years and years to see that.
And
But
that,
I only saw it through digging each little shovelful, each little thing, and trying the right stuff and doing not the right stuff, but doing the right searching. Meditation is part of that. Doing that, just the little repetition of going to this place and looking, and eventually you break through what was relatively easy for you because of where you came from.
You see,
because you're a different soul.
what it is, it's always now.
Yes.
It's always now. It's never anything else. And the always now is the stillness that God is referring to. Because everything in the universe moves. You have time. As long as you have time, you have momentum to take you away. Because it's moving. Time is moving. See?
Time is the sign
Spinning.
of motion.
Yeah. So it's just such a little difficult thing. I don't want to lose the thought. There's something more I want to say. I may have said it, but in that awareness that the crocodile doesn't have, that your dog doesn't have, I'm aware I'm existing. I'm looking around and looking at leaves. a leaf, a grass. And in the beginning, you see, why you wonder of it. You wonder how the grass knew how to be a grass. But then you have to figure out what the ground and the mud is also. You see, what you're looking at is magic, a universe and time. But where God is, there is no time. And what I speak about beyond the void, what put the hot in singularity, or let there be light things, so that you could have a universe. We won't go into that because that's the whole thing. But that awareness that I'm trying to look beyond the void, because how can a void, absolute cold of nothing, produce anything? Where did it come from? That where did you come from is inside you. That's it. And it's inside you, and you can see there's a God. You can actually sense that worth, that you're more worthless than an animal. That there's another kind of energy that you function from. And this energy is called the light. Adam had that, but when he was thrown out of the garden, he adapted this, so he became part animal and part human. You got to get rid of the emotion, because the animals have it.
Us fallen people, with us fallen people who fall into the world, when God begins to let his presence, his consciousness come through us, come into us, the first thing we see is all the lies we bought.
Yeah.
And then we see our own helplessness. We can't stand.
I didn't see any lies, though.
I do. I see my
I just want to
helplessness.
say,
You believed it.
I believed it from the very beginning,
Yes.
because my father was magical, but he never said much. He was always there, even if he wasn't there. And when I would ask him, what's the meaning of life? Guess what he would say? You have to find it for yourself. He didn't.
But your brother had the same father, but
Yes.
it didn't have the same effect
Correct.
on him.
Correct. He was jealous.
Yeah. See, and that's just,
And he died from it.
yes. So we have to realize that when the Father comes into us, the first thing that happens is our illusions begin to blow up.
Correct.
And we feel helpless and useless.
But
It's the
I've
power
never
you
had one
did.
of those.
But
I've never
but-
had one.
But we need to
Yes, you
feel,
did.
we need to go to this place
Yes.
of helplessness.
Yeah.
The more you let his reality come in, the more your reality changes, the more part of you dies, the more you begin to awaken to the life that we're meant to
That's
live.
well said. Everybody understanding this? Yes. Little bits, and somebody says it one way and somebody says it another way. But it all comes down to the fact you have to find a place in your heart where there is no momentum, no time. Timeless. The void is timeless. So be still is here it is. You have a brain. And when you come into the world comes into you. And you don't have a chance. In other words, you come into the world with intuition where everything must be flowing from within you. Everything from that moment. But as it would be, Eve is still Eve. Adam is still Adam. The man born of woman is no use. Now, there's something missing in the man. It's authority, like Jesus has an authority. But the man tends to look to the woman because he comes from the woman. He goes to the woman as if she was a god to fulfill him. Or is this a screw? Is it, pardon expression? It's not love, it's lust. And they live on lust. And they want lust. And they want to get medicine for that lust, drugs for that, to kill the pain of the lust, which looks like love. And then they begin to love the
Children.
yeah.
They begin to love the children with that love.
Yes, but the thing is, they love the pleasure of self-righteousness. See, in other words, they're looking to the woman. But the woman doesn't understand that something's missing in her, and only a man can give it to her. But the point is, a woman can find it on her own. But generally speaking, we have marriage, and the marriage produces children, and the children are immediately affected by the woman the minute they come into the world, right in a minute. But I had a father that was different, and I belonged to him, but my brother belonged to my mother. He was jealous of me. Anyway, to finish the point here, to make it nice and clear, I hope, that you have a place inside you that has no time. It's always now. It's a very strange thing. You'll get used to it. It's always now. And so in this always now, there is your Creator, right there, giving you instructions. So you do not live from all the thoughts, the emotional thoughts you had. You sit quietly, and you will understand how a leaf works, if that's your interest. And if you hear a baby cry, you will become aware of it. Why is she crying? Why do they cry when they're born? Whatever that is, how does a tree know how to be a tree? It's a living thing, but it seems to have the forests, they burn down, and they seem happy when they come back up again. But we are not dispensable. We can have everything. We are always where we should be in ourselves. I've got to do it just a little bit more. When you came into the world, and I said the world comes into you, it means that the pressure, the emotion, the lack of wisdom of the parents have an effect on the child who has intuition, and because the mother is more powerful and angry or falsely loving but thinking it's love, possessing them, in other words, loving them too much, but it's not loving them too much, it's killing them. So every child experiences that, but they have the key to the kingdom when they were born. But the trouble is, when you grow up to be 2 years old, you begin to see the nature of your own parents. You can see the injustices, subtle or obvious. But the point is, the parent is more powerful than a little child. The will that goes on from one generation to the other, without them knowing that's happening, without them knowing they don't know what they're doing. So that even if they're doing kind things, it's spoiling them and ruining them and enslaving them to mother, because there's no father to say, put the fruit down. Put that kid down, I'll take care of him. But a man born of woman doesn't have that power. And she's hungry for that. And damned if she gets it, because it's not there. It's sex. It's not love. See? So, again, we have a brain. Animal has a brain. The trouble is, when we come into the world with our parents, not knowing what they're doing, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. But they did it. And it comes through the generations from Paradise Lost. It's the same thing, but the other way round. Women in charge of men. But women don't want to be in charge of men. They want to be salvationists, want to be saved from what caused her to say, I ate that fruit and I didn't die. Separate from that, whatever it is. And so, the pressures that you come into the world disconnect your emotions. You become emotionally driven now, and for a long time you'll forget what the meaning of life is. For a long time, for most people, not for me, but just for long people, I was different. And what happened was, in the shock of seeing just injustice, it makes you angry. And the minute faith, perfect faith, that's intuition, it can be coming through you from the very day you were born. In that very moment when you see your parent for what they are, they don't like that. And they're able to be angry with you. And they will put pressure on you. Go to school, do this, do that. You've got to listen to your parent. The child knows more than the parent does. But then the child becomes the extension of the parent and eventually does the same thing to their own children forever. So, technically speaking, what's happening when you get upset is the soul, the awareness, the soul reacts because you don't have the control yet. You're coming into the world comes into you, and they shock you. They don't see it. They think it's love. Whatever, I'm trying to say so many different ways. And so what it does, it disconnects the awareness, the soul, to the brain. And so takes you away from God and makes you subject to the world outside. So when you get shock, you don't have, when you're shocked, it separates you from the way that you should unfold like a flower inside. And so in order to reverse that, you have to find that idea, concept of being still. And that still is not in the universe. The universe is always moving, cannot stop. But the only place you can stop is stand back. Learning how to stand back from the brain. So the soul is no longer influenced by the external world. The soul is disconnected from God, and if you sit quietly, it comes back the other way. And so they can pummel your brain, but you're under a new realm. If you meditate that way, you are moving towards that realm that we were talking about. The mind can't grasp, but it's already inside you. All you have to do is realize it and want it. Recognize, I see it now. In other words, your ability to see is not interrupted by emotion because your soul has been disconnected from your brain and cannot control you. But the soul is now under the rule of the Creator Himself. Simple. You don't see the Creator. It's a realm. It's an energy field of some kind that causes you to lose all your emotions and take away all your misery and suffering and struggles and everything else. And now it's always now. Always now. Always now. And so when the now comes, danger comes, everything bad happens for good, for those that love the Lord. Can you see how important horror and danger is? If you can stay calm, like I did with a doctor saying, I'll give you good news and bad news, I didn't flinch one way or the other. I didn't say, whoopee. I wasn't shocked. Thank you. It's now. It's the way it's supposed to be. Thank you very much. I appreciate being alive. If you can put words into it. Do you understand me now? Yes?
Yes.
We had to go over it again and again, but I think we got somewhere. Did we not get to that somewhere today? And I didn't use very, very intelligent words. You notice I was using basic English.
You're sharper than ever, Roy.
Huh?
You're sharper than ever. I've known you since I was 19.
Really?
Yes.
Would you like to take the microphone?
I don't have anything special to say, but 19 years old in Los Angeles, driving around.
Yeah.
I'm 60 now. Hear you. You freed me from the culture we are in. You freed me from dry education. You freed me from dead religion. You freed me from the pressure of those things. I've learned so much from your teachings. God blessed you.
It's all so simple, isn't it?
It is. It's such a freeing thing.
Then you're
all I
free.
can say.
You're free of me.
Yes, sir, I am.
And
I
as
don't
you're
think you
free of
even know
me, as you're free of me, you are the extension of me, and you are now. Your presence is affecting someone down. You're doing unto others what you would have them done to you.
That is a freeing thing, Roy, about fathers and being so important. And my father wasn't the greatest man, but I stopped judging him. I stopped hating him.
Yeah.
I have a relationship with him.
For he knows not what he did.
Just the same with me. It wasn't until, and then I have 4 kids and the family and everything. And as I'm raising them, I have the regular problems that people have, but those problems, like you say, all these horrors that come or things that happen that are bad, turn into something good.
Yes,
turn
it
into
does.
something better.
Everything bad
It-
happens for
yes.
good. Means
I see it
you're
now.
being tested and you're becoming strong and
more
standing
faithful.
where you need to be.
It creates faith,
Yeah.
if I can say that.
Yeah.
If
it does.
I think it
It
does.
does. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. I thank you.
Because somewhere, when you came into the world, you lost the intuition. It's there somewhere, inside you. It's wandering around inside and waiting for you to look for. I can't explain that. It's not explicable, But it's magical.
It is.
And if I had not had a father like that, he could speak 11 languages and build anything, a watch, a car, a building. Couldn't get a job. But eventually, the family wouldn't help us. I had a rich family. No help for my dad. But still, he became a better man. I become a better man because I literally enjoy trouble, if you put it that way. I know that I'm not like other people, and they have it in for me for the most part. But I am steady in that. I know that if I am going to live, I have to be still and listen and not react to anything. The only way you can not react to it is is to have your, well, it's hard to say, but there's a transformation of some kind which is hard to explain. Because when your soul disconnects from the brain, you cannot be overcome by anything. You endure it, the duration, so you may suffer, you can have pain, you can have all kinds of problems, but if you be sure that you don't get angry or upset, and see that they can't help what they do. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Right there. He screams it loud. I've often wondered, why did he say that? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Bingo. Whole universe. Everybody has that. And we can all be changed into, you can be a Hitlerite, you can be what do you call it about a man-eater? What do you eat?
Cannibal.
Oh, cannibal, yes. I couldn't hear. I have a little problem with my ears. Cannibal, yes. So you can actually be created into anything anybody wants. It's a state of mind. When you come into the world, if you had a pure mother and a pure father, and the mother loves the father because the father loves the real father within him. He has authority. He has no authority unless he finds love from him first, not love from the woman first. You got it backwards. See? You don't look to a woman for love. You look, yes.
Well, I'll just share one thing that I realized this last week that I never saw. In my parents, it was pretty traumatic, lots of shocks.
Well, it's mostly that
But what
way.
I saw that I never saw was that I became what I accused my parents of.
Yes.
And I never saw it. And it was, it was freeing. All the things that I thought my parents did on purpose.
No.
The sadistic
They didn't
things,
know.
All of it. I saw that I was that.
Have you seen? Have you seen the meditation? Have you ever seen the hypnosis demonstration on Facebook?
Yes.
You need to watch that.
Oh, yeah. With
You can see that
Oh.
within minutes,
Yeah.
I took over that person's mind, making change his shoes on the wrong feet, and making him think they're on the right feet.
Yeah.
And he made a fool of himself. See?
But until I saw myself, I was no longer the victim of my parents.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
See, the Jewish Ten Commandments says, honor your mother and father. Then people will say, hey, my mother and father almost killed me. It's mostly that way. What have they done to me? Why should I forgive them? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. It's coming through the generations. Every generations, the good people are good in the way they is not pure enough. And that's the reason why if we had a purity of love, just not me or you, but the whole nation, America, would suddenly begin to see we'd all become normal again, drugs would disappear, health would reappear, and there never would be a war, because the wicked ones are terrified of such a person that can stay calm and can never be overcome. Never. It's impossible to overcome me. I just wait and wait to act or to see. I just wait. And I'm sort of like a stupid person in a manner of speaking, but I'm just aware. I'm looking aware, I'm waiting, I see this. Oh, no, it's not good. I see that. Oh, I see it. I am learning, I am discovering every minute of the day. Everything that bad happens for good, because I can feel the pain. I can feel the pain, but I don't resent it. I don't get upset with it. It is what it is, and if it's going to kill me, okay. I will stand up and fight. As just recently, I made my point. When I'm almost 90 years old, I took on this,
I guess it gives a new meaning to the saying, waiting for God knows what.
That's right. That's well said. I think that the idea of you disconnecting the soul, because you have a soul, the animals don't, and the soul, as long as it's connected to the brain, is subject to the world around. That's why you have to be still, and you have to go to the place where it still is. And animals haven't got that. You have it. It's there. It's always been there. That's all I can say. I enjoyed my conversations with you.
Thank you.
Did you? Anne, did you like that?
Right on.
Good. Yeah.